Hello and welcome to the handover video for your new AutoSleeper Nuevo. We'll start on the exterior of the vehicle and work our way round to the habitation door, at which point we'll step inside. So next to the habitation door you will find the air vents for the microwave and for the fridge. It's just important to keep these free at all times to allow the circulation of air so that the units inside don't overheat. Water fill point number one. This is the standard fill point. You just simply put a garden hose in there and fill a freshwater tank. I'll show you when we get to the other side of the vehicle where the drain taps are for the fresh and the grey water tank. On this side, you see the previous owner has labelled it. This is barbecue, external barbecue fitting point. The previous owner has left behind, and it's stored in this locker, a Cadec external barbecue for you. This is an external takeoff point for 13 amp. So if you have an electric barbecue, say a George Foreman grill or something like that, you can plug it in there. This is a wet locker. It's not connected to the interior of the vehicle, so it's an ideal place for keeping your electric hookup cable, the corner steadies winder, levelling ramps, hose pipes, anything that could introduce damp into the interior of the vehicle you store in the wet locker. Next to the passenger door is the fuel point. Top is for diesel and the wee blue one below is for AdBlue. Now there is no AdBlue gauge on the vehicle. What you get is a warning light, so when you have reached about 1500 miles to empty, the warning light will come on. 1500 miles is plenty of time for you to get to a filling station. Next time you're putting diesel in the van, put in some AdBlue. There's also, the previous owner has left a 5 litre container of AdBlue in the wet locker. Now if you don't go to a filling station and top up, by the time you get to about 300 miles to empty, the light will start to flash. If you don't fill at that point and you reach empty, the vehicle will go to limp mode, and if you stop the engine will not restart, so it pays to do it as soon as the first light comes on. Underneath the passenger seat, behind here, you'll see there's a little catch here. It's kind of awkward to get to, but behind here is where you'll find the toolbox of the vehicle. On the front left hand side there is a locking screw. Undo that screw and you can remove the toolbox. In there you will find the jack for jacking up the vehicle to change a tyre, and also the towing eye, as well as the socket tyre iron for undoing the bolts. On the side of the dashboard is the bonnet release. Releasing this takes the bonnet to its first position on the catch. Second position for the bonnet release is in the centre of the bonnet, just underneath the Peugeot Lion symbol, and you see it there. Underneath the bonnet you will find, under that flap next to the yellow little marker, the positive blade for attaching jump leads, and the negative point is in the centre here should you ever need to jump start the vehicle. Over on the left hand side, that is the fill point for the washer bottle. These are the 3 reservoirs for brake fluid, steering fluid and coolant, and they are accessed by undoing little clips here and lifting this section away. Continuing round to the offside side of the vehicle, drain point for the fresh water tap, fill point for the LPG tank, secondary water fill point. There's a separate hose for that. It's a powered take up and it's used only when on a fully serviced site where there is water to the site. On that subject, here is a television input. If it's a fully serviced site with satellite capabilities, you can get your satellite signal there. Electric hookup point beside that. Above those two you'll find the flue for the boiler. Never restrict this. Don't be tempted to hang a hoodie of a cagoule or anything over there. It's not a good idea. The sensor inside the boiler will sense back pressure and it will switch off the system when it's running on gas. Similarly, cooling vent for the back of the boiler, and next to that is the cassette for the toilet. Below the cassette for the toilet you will find the grey water drain tap. Quickly looking at the cassette. To release the cassette, the owner's left a handy cloth for cleaning up any spillages of water. There's a blue handle in here. Lifting that handle up releases the cassette draws out. If you feel any resistance when drawing the cassette out, stop. It means the blade in the inside of the toilet, which you can see here, has not been put into the closed position. When the blade is in the closed position, it will disengage from that blue handle on the right hand side, and that allows you to then freely take the cassette out. Once you've withdrawn the cassette, taken it to the disposal point, unscrew the blue cap, hold the cassette thus, press the button with your thumb. That releases the air pressure and allows the waste material to empty from the cassette. Once emptied, there is a filler cap which is graduated. Put in the appropriate amount of chemicals, add about 1 litre of water, mix and return it to the slot. And now we'll turn our attention to the interior of the vehicle. The first thing you'll find when you open the door is the push button here, and that button controls the electric entrance step. Stepping into the vehicle, and above that button you'll find 2 light switches which will only work after you've switched on the power here. Now we'll just switch everything to 0 so that we can demonstrate what's happening here. So we're currently fluctuating between 75% and full. There are sensors in the tank that sit at 100, 75, 50 and 25%. When the water is just bordering between one and the other, you sometimes get this little effect here. So wastewater showing 0, external temperature. You can toggle through battery conditions, current being drawn from the battery. Do you want to change clock set the alarm? The alarm's currently off. Set event timers, no. And then this is the model number of the control unit, the Sergeant control unit. It's an EC328T. And then we come back to the condition of the leisure battery. Now you can leave this in whichever position you so desire. The manual will demonstrate how, using these buttons, arrow buttons and the enter button, you can go in and change any settings within this control panel. So, circuits, main power on. And from there you can switch between vehicle and leisure battery. Always have it on leisure battery. If you run off the vehicle battery, there is always the possibility you could flatten the vehicle battery and find yourself stranded in the middle of nowhere. With the 12 volt supply on, you're then able to do things like put lights on and off around the van. Then there are the headlights, which are touch sensitive, and reading lights, which you'll find located around the vehicle that have simple little on-off rocker switches. Also above the door and independent of the 12 volt master switch are the heater tanks. This one is for the fresh water. This is the heater for the grey water tank, and it's found underneath the right hand side couch in the lounge area. If you want to use any of the taps, the shower, the flush the toilet, the tap in the kitchen sink, you have to first switch on the supply to the tap. It's a good habit to be in to use this on demand. So if you are going to wash dishes, switch on the water pump. If you're not, switch it off. You can hear the water pump running, but if you're away from the vehicle and you've left a dog in the van or something and it accidentally rubs against a tap, opening a tap, switching on the water supply, you could burn your pump out. So just a good habit to get into, to switch on demand. After you've switched on your 12 volt supply, you can then switch on your Truma control panel, which controls the hot water system and the central heating system. When you switch it on, this is the screen that you'll get. Every flashing icon indicates a different aspect of the control unit. The moment the vehicle with the thermometer in it is flashing, that means if I press the button to enter, It's showing off. I can now control the internal temperature of the vehicle. So let's say turn it up to 25 degrees Celsius and press enter. So you'll now see a little flame has come on above that symbol. That indicates that this is now live. The two little lightning bolt here indicate that we've chosen electricity as our chosen power supply, and the little fan here indicates that there is a fan running, or the fan will run once it comes up to temperature to circulate the air. You'll notice the flame has now started to flash. It will continue to flash until the chosen temperature has been reached. There's a little temperature sensor in the cabin, and once that senses a temperature of 25 degrees Celsius, that light will stay on constantly. Turning to the right, it's hot water. Let's press enter into the hot water, and you have a choice of Eco, which is about 40 degrees C, Hot, 60 to 65 degrees C, and Boost. Now Boost isn't hotter than the 60 to 65 degrees Celsius. It just gets there quicker, and it gets there at the expense of the central heating. So let's just go for hot. So when you come to collect the vehicle, it'll be warm inside, the water will be hot, and that will prove that everything is working as it should. Next symbol along is your choice of fuel. We're on electric 2 at the moment, indicated by 2 lightning bolts. That means we are drawing 1800 watts of electrical power from the mains hookup. If I turn this anti-clockwise, electric 1 is only 900 watts. Mix 2 is gas and 1800 watts. Mix 1, gas and 900, gas on its own. Now, you're not paying for the electricity today while we're plugged in, so we'll just heat on electric and save your gas. The fan runs on Eco or high speeds. We'll leave it on Eco. It's more efficient on the draw of energy from the leisure battery. The next symbol is for the timer. Now you can set your timer, as you do with your central heating at home, to come on and off at different times. Then you have a clock settings. You can set your clock. Back button takes you back, and then you have settings. Settings if you want to change Celsius to Fahrenheit, if you want to increase the brightness of your screen, if you want to change from 12-hour to 24-hour clock. All of that is done in the settings. You'll also notice there's a little plug symbol has come on, and that's indicating that we are plugged into mains today. Now, to switch this whole system off, wake it up again, go into each of the individual elements. Let's switch off the hot water. Let's switch off the central heating, and then switch off the panel by pressing and holding until the word off appears. App, don't stop here unless you want to activate the app on your phone. When the word off appears, release the button and the screen will go blank. At the moment, it's going through its shutdown phase. The word off will stay there until the shutdown phase is completed. You'll see that it says iNet Ready on here. There is a box inside the cupboard just above the control panel. And if you choose to, you can put a SIM card in there, and then using an app on your phone, wherever you are in the world, you can switch your central heating on and off if you so desire. If you use the app on the phone and you're in the vehicle, it'll operate on Bluetooth, so you wouldn't need to have the SIM card. Let's turn our attention to your Thetford 3-way fridge. You'll see at the moment the fridge is ajar. There's a little lever here that goes in to keep the fridge door in this position when the vehicle is not in use. It stops your fridge starting to smell. It just lifts up and it slides away out of place underneath the catch in the door, allowing the door then to close properly when in use. The Thetford fridge in this vehicle is a 3-way fridge. To switch it on, press and hold this button until the screen comes to life, and then it settles into the last mode you had it in before you switched it off. Green light indicates the fridge is on. This screen will go to sleep after a wee while. There we go. To wake the screen up, not the fridge is running, just touch that quickly once. We're in the automatic setting at the moment. Pressing this button will toggle between the various power settings. So you have mains electricity, battery which is now flashing and showing an error symbol because it's not the battery, it's running off the alternator, and the engine's not running, your fridge won't run. Then gas, nice and steady, the gas will now ignite and the fridge will run on gas. The best setting really is automatic. We're plugged into mains, automatic knows, and it's selected mains as a power source. If I unplug the vehicle now from the mains, let's go into sleep, it would come on and start to run on gas. If we started the engine, the gas would switch off and it would start to run off the alternator. Leave the fridge in this setting at all times. If you're in a fuel station and you switch off the alternator, don't worry, it won't start to spark up and run on gas. It gives you about a 10 to 15 minute window before it will do that, so it's a safety mechanism, which means you don't have to disconnect your gas when you pull into a fuel station to fill up with diesel. Underneath the couch, immediately behind the driver's seat in the lounge area, you'll find your leisure battery, encased in a battery box, main battery fuses, and frost protection valve from the boiler, which lives underneath the wardrobe. If the internal temperature of the vehicle drops below 3 degrees Celsius, the following happens. That will pop round into that position and the wee button will pop out below. To reset, simply turn that way and push the button back in. You'll hear the water has now stopped running out. That will only reset if you get the internal temperature above 10 degrees Celsius. So easiest way to do that is just to switch on the heating. The heating doesn't require water in the boiler. Get the room up to temperature, reset, and then fill your water tank. When you're doing a winter drain down, you open the two external taps for the grey and the freshwater tank, and you open that manually, as I had just demonstrated here, and that will drain your boiler. You then switch on the pump, open a tap until there's no water left in the system, then you switch the pump off. Leave your internal taps open. This stops the system filling up with or having air and being a closed system, which means if there's any residual water and it freezes, it doesn't come up against the air pressure and go sideways and rupture a pipe. At worst, you'll get a small icicle coming out of a tap. If at any time you find the water pump continues to run on for an excessive period of time after you've switched the tap off, you can adjust this screw here, which adjusts the pressure flow from the water pump until you hear a little click and the pump switches off. You can have greater water pressure by winding that screw clockwise, but the end result is that the pump just keeps running all the time and it could pump out, it could burn out. Inside the wardrobe, you will find the master water heater switch. This is for electric. If that isn't on, then the control panel on the outside that we've run through the instruction on won't operate on electricity. That has to be on. You can leave it in the on position, but if you're doing a complete winter storage and shutting everything down, you can't switch it off. Similarly with the charger, if the charger's switched off, when you plug into mains, it won't charge anything, and then there's no point in doing your once a month top up to keep your battery in good condition when the vehicle's not being used. Little black cap there fits into the socket in the floor where that pole for this table normally sits. 12 volt individual fuses, all labelled for the 12 volt systems in the vehicle, and your RCD trip switches for the 230 volt systems there. Isolator valves for the gas, so if you smell gas coming from, say, your cooker, you can isolate the cooker and just eat microwave meals if you're on a campsite or go to the pub while still operating the heating and the fridge, so your holiday isn't ruined. And the on and off positions are illustrated on the sticker there. Also in this cupboard here, the larger picnic table is stored. That can be taken out of the vehicle and used between the two main seats for dining. And over here we have the amplifier and the aerial controls. The aerial, you just undo this locking screw to push the aerial up and tune it, turn it sideways till it's pointing in the right direction for you to get signal wherever you are on holiday. Amplifier, simple on-off switch at the side. If the amplifier is not switched on, then even in the strongest of signal areas, your television, when plugged into the television points, which are located on the opposite side of the vehicle, will not operate. 3 gas ring cooker and 1 electric. When you turn on the electric, the red light comes on for that ring at the back there. Obviously, you have to be plugged in to mains for that to operate. To operate the gas rings, press and turn the dial, hold the dial in while you press the igniter. Once it's ignited, hold it for a few seconds to allow the thermocouple to heat up, then release. If the flame goes out, just repeat that process and keep that held in for a little while longer. Down to a peep, back up to mains and to off. And the same is true for the other 2 gas rings. And for the grill, and the oven below, remembering to keep the button pressed for a few seconds to allow the system to heat up, and then it will continue to run.